Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We're gonna light it up now. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now.
All right, the court is now in session. The Honorable Shirley Matthews presiding.
Good morning, you may be seated.
We actually just wanted to speak about timing, Judge.
Oh, all right, did you get a copy of the expert purpose jury
Yes,
instruction?
Judge.
Okay, if you have fill-ins for that.
I can just scratch out who we need. We don't need Dr. Bryan or Dr. Packers on this.
Does it say what Detective Weglarowski is an expert in?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, if you give it to us, we'll change it. I want to give you a complete set of the jury instructions and make sure you agree with them.
Thank you, Judge.
All right.
May we speak with you off the record regarding timing?
Sure. Should be. You want to recall someone, I think.
Yes, Judge, we're going to recall Special Agent Brett Brandon for very brief testimony.
All right.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so are you ready for the jury?
We have not heard
Not yet. And Mark Keast on behalf of the people.
Mario Lehman on behalf of Mr. Crumbley.
Karen McDonald on behalf of the people.
All right. Mr. Crumbley, can you hear us?
Yes, I can, thank you.
All right, we're going to bring the jury in.
Thank you, Judge.
Oh, yes. Should I do that? Your Honor, just very briefly, I just wanted to make a quick record before the jury comes in that Amy Crumbley and James Crumbley Sr. will not be testifying as defense witnesses. They were on the witness list, however, they are not testifying. They are in the courtroom, which is why we're making a record.
Okay.
Mr. Keese is aware, we did talk about it before coming in the court this morning.
That's correct.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor.
All rise for the jury.
Good morning. As always, thank you for being on time. You can be seated. Prosecutor, who's your next witness?
Thank you, Judge. The people are going to briefly recall Special Agent Brett Brandon.
Could you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony about you give is the truth so help you God?
I do, Your Honor.
All right, could you please step up and would you state your name for the record and spell your first and last name?
Yes,
please?
it's Brett Brandon, B-R-E-T-T, Brandon, B-R-A-N-D-O-N.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Sir, you're one of the officers in charge of this case?
Yes,
Okay. And you were here yesterday for Lieutenant Willis's testimony, is that right?
that's correct.
Okay. And you've had the opportunity as well to review surveillance footage of different facilities?
Yes,
Okay, does that include surveillance footage of 1111 Bellevue in Detroit?
it does.
Okay. And do you recall when Lieutenant Willis was asked if he remembered if James or Jennifer Crumbley ever left the premises of 1111 Bellevue, he couldn't remember the answer?
I do recall that, yes.
Okay. Do you have a definitive answer for us?
Yes,
Tell us about that, please.
yes. So in my review of the video from 1111 Bellevue, I did not observe Mr. or Mrs. Crumbley leave the premises. They did, like we stated yesterday, go to their car several times to smoke cigarettes and come back inside, but they did not leave the premises from what I saw in the surveillance video.
Okay, so we have surveillance video admitted already about 11:30 a.m., around noon a.m. with the time difference on the surveillance camera, that James and Jennifer Crumbley arrived in the parking lot, is that right?
I believe that time is correct.
Okay, and then we saw footage of James Crumbley pulling the vehicle out and back in the same parking spot?
Yes,
Okay, but they never left that location of 1111 Bellevue?
I did not observe them leave, no.
Okay. We heard testimony regarding certain foodstuffs were found in Suite 130 in that location.
That's correct.
In the review of your video, were you able to give us information regarding that?
Yes.
Tell us about that, please.
So in the afternoon, at some point, the owner of that art studio that they were staying in got into his vehicle, departed, returned a while later with white grocery bags, a bag of ice, and I think a case of waters that he made 3 trips in and out, carrying that into the apartment or into that unit. And then that was the person that dropped off those groceries.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing for that.
Ross?
Very briefly, Your Honor. Good morning, Agent Brandon.
Good morning.
You testified that James and Jennifer left the building, but remained on the premises.
That's correct. Yeah, they were a little out of view of the camera by the front of the vehicle, but from my observations, they would go out there for a few minutes and then walk back in.
From what you recall from your review of the information that you received during your investigation, it wasn't just once or twice, but they actually went in and out of the building multiple times that day, correct?
Yes, I don't recall the number, but it was probably north of 6, and sometimes it would be both of them. Sometimes it would just be Mr. Crumbley. You know, occasionally it would be Mr. Crumbley's particular would come out with his hood up or ball cap on and then walk back in.
And we saw it was snowing that day.
I believe it snowed in the morning, and then as the day went on, it let up. But yeah, it was approaching winter.
It was December in Michigan, so cold.
I don't recall the temperature, but yeah, it was December in Michigan.
You also, if you recall, there were times when Mr. Crumbley or his wife left the building and went back in during the day, but also at night.
Yes, it started when they arrived and then continued through the evening, yes.
As for the owner of the art studio going to get foodstuffs, I think is what the prosecution referred to it as. You don't know why he went and got it. You just know that he went and got it. Is that fair?
Correct.
No further questions, John.
No redirect, thank you.
All right, you may step down.
Thank you, Ron.
And who's the next witness?
Thank you, Judge. I did speak with counsel last night as well as this morning regarding our exhibits, and we approached earlier to talk about that. I will provide the court as well as counsel with our updated version. I have made a record before we started with testimony regarding exhibits that were admitted. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I will rely upon the document that I provided counsel as well as the court that these exhibits are in fact admitted.
And we made an extensive record of which exhibits would be admitted last week, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
That's correct. And the only exceptions that I did want to point out, we have an agreement to Exhibit 378. That's a redacted transcript of James and Jennifer Crumbley's interview video at the Oxford substation. We're in a stipulation to that. That's 378.
Ms. Lane, did you have an opportunity to review the transcript?
I did, Your Honor. I have reviewed it. I have spoken with Mr. Keast about it, and we do have an agreement to admit that as an exhibit.
You believe it's accurate?
I do believe it's accurate, Your Honor, yes.
All right, I will admit number 378 then.
Thank you, Judge. And the only other two exhibits that are currently noted as exhibits on this list are 373 and 374. Those are not admitted and at this point will be omitted from the exhibit list.
373 and 374 will not be admitted.
Yes, Judge.
All right.
And Your Honor, I would like the opportunity, and I believe Mr. Keast will do that, to give me a copy of that list to just ensure
course.
that I have the same number of exhibits that he has and to make sure that we agree.
Okay, sure.
And Judge, with that, people rest.
All right. Ms. Lehman.
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, the defense would call Karen Crumbley.
Good morning. Could you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, so help you God? Okay, and could you hold this door toward you?
I got it.
And have a step up? And have a seat? And then would you state your name for the record and spell your first and last name?
Karen Crumbley, K-A-R-E-N-C-R-U-M-B-L-E-Y.
All right, I'm going to ask you to keep your voice up.
Okay,
All right, take a deep breath.
okay.
Go ahead, Ms. Lehman.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Ms. Crumbley. Can I call you Karen?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Karen, I am going to, again, ask that you keep your voice up. You are a little soft-spoken, so I want to make sure that the jury and the courtroom can hear you, okay?
Okay.
I just have a few questions. How are you feeling today?
Good.
Are you nervous?
Well, I mean, yes, a little. I mean, I'm all right.
I'm going to take you back. Well, let me start with this. Do you know James Crumbley?
Of course, yes.
How do you know him?
He is my brother.
Do you know his son?
Yes, I do.
I am going to ask that you not say his son's name. We do have some direction from the court not to use his son's name in court.
Okay.
And what is his son's relationship to you?
He is my nephew.
we're going to be fairly specific. Where do you live?
I live in Welaka, Florida.
Tell the court a little bit about yourself.
I was raised in Jacksonville, Florida. I went and graduated high school, and then I got my medical assistant degree and did a few times in New Hampshire at Dartmouth-Hitchcock Hospital, and then came back to Florida. And I was in a car accident where I lost my right leg, and now I stay in a town that is peaceful, and I have 4 children and 2 grandchildren.
How old are your kids?
17, 18, 23, and 25.
I'm going to take you back to 2021. Where are you living in 2021?
In Welaka, Florida.
Specifically, I'm going to ask you about April of 2021. Do you recall what was going on in April of 2021?
My mom was in the hospital. My mom passed away April 6th of 2021.
Do you recall if you saw James or his son in April of 2021?
Yes, I did. My brother James was there in the hospital with us when my mom passed. And then my nephew came down, I believe, the day after and stayed for the while we had the services. And then we had like a memorial thing, like get together with everybody, cookout and stuff. And then we had the services, the funeral services and things like that.
You said your mom passed away on April 6th of 2021?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember exactly that your nephew came down on the 7th, or are you not sure of the date? And if you don't know, it's okay.
I know that they left when they found out that my mom had passed. I believe my nephew and his
Let me stop you
mother.
for a second. Who's they?
My nephew and his mother
Okay.
drove down to Florida from Michigan when they find out, and believe they got there maybe around on the 7th that they arrived.
Okay. So you remember that you saw your nephew maybe the 7th. It might have been the next day, or maybe you're not sure.
Right. Yes.
But it was shortly after the 6th. Is
yes.
that-
It was very shortly.
While your brother and his son were in Florida, did you spend time with them?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Obviously, it was a difficult time with your mom passing away. Do you recall seeing anything concerning about your nephew?
No.
Do you recall him saying anything concerning to you? And if I ask you about if you recall if anyone...
Will you keep your voice up? Just
Yes.
I want the jury to be able to hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Judge. When I ask you if you recall hearing anything or anyone saying anything, I don't necessarily want to say what they said.
Okay.
That's not allowed. But just if you recall hearing anything.
No.
Do you recall having conversations with your brother where he expressed anything concerning to you about his son?
No.
Do you recall your brother expressing any conversations he'd had with his son that were concerning to you?
No.
Do you recall how long they were there?
I think I'm not honestly too sure. 1.5 weeks, maybe a week.
Okay.
For sure, for a week.
So it was more than a couple of days.
Of course, yes.
And you saw them more than one time.
Yes.
And when I say them, I mean both your brother James and his son.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall seeing James and or your nephew any other time in 2021?
Yes, I went to Michigan with my father and my stepmother to visit. It was actually he knew my father was going, but I was a surprise to my brother. And we went to Michigan. We stayed at their house for about a week. About 3 or 4 days, maybe.
When you say you stayed at their house, whose house did you stay at?
My brother James's house.
And was his son there?
Yes.
And you stayed there for a few days?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you spend time with James and your nephew in those few days?
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm going to ask you the same thing. Do you recall seeing anything concerning?
No.
Do you recall your nephew saying anything concerning to you?
No.
Do you recall your brother talking to you about concerning conversations he'd had with his son?
So I just have to object to that question. Honestly, I should object to the last question regarding April as well. She can testify as to what she observed and but not what James said or not said.
Yeah, correct, yes.
From your observations, did you see anything concerning in June of 2021?
Absolutely not.
And did you speak with your brother after June of 2021?
Yes.
Did you speak with your nephew after June of 2021?
Not directly, no. Heard him in the background, tell him I said hi, he said hi, things like that, but not directly, no.
So based on those interactions, although they weren't direct, they were kind of in the background,
Yes.
did you observe anything concerning with your nephew between June of 21 and, we'll say, November 30th of 2021?
No.
If there had been anything concerning that you had observed, what would you have done?
I would have addressed it, and if I would have known anything, I would have talked to him, I would have took him home with me if there was any kind of inclination that anything was wrong.
Would you have made your brother aware of it?
Of course.
Did you ever make your brother aware of anything you were concerned about?
No, because there was nothing I was concerned about.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Ross?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name's Mark. I'm going to ask you some questions. If anything I ask is confusing or sometimes I kind of go on a little bit, just let me know and I can rephrase the question.
Okay.
Now, James Crumbley is your brother, obviously.
Correct.
And we refer to him as a shooter. He's your nephew.
Yes.
Okay. The last time you actually saw the shooter was June of 2021? Your
Do
nephew?
you mean in person?
In person, yeah. The last time you saw him?
I think, Your Honor,
Oh.
but she's hesitating, I think I know what she's hesitating about. Do you want to discuss it at the bench?
Can we approach? Yes. I think I know what it is.
Okay.
Before the shooting on November the 30th, the last time you saw your nephew was in June of 2021?
Correct.
Okay, and the last time you saw him before that was in April of 2021?
Correct.
Okay. And you, from the time of, actually, you may not know this, but everybody's phones in this case were seized and analyzed. Did you know that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, including your brothers as well as your nephews?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you're not here to tell us that you had a particularly close relationship with your brother, is that right?
We had a close relationship, but we lived in two different states, so it was mainly, it wasn't like close.
Well, you wouldn't talk very often.
At least maybe once a month.
Well, according to the phone records on your brother's phone, it was far less frequent than that. Does that sound right to you? And I'm not trying to trip you up.
No. We talked on social media as well.
Right, so there's call logs, actual device to device.
Right.
Then there's Facebook calls as well.
Correct.
And I show 2 Facebook calls.
Okay.
And then there's instant messaging, and there's 22 instant messages between you and your brother.
Okay.
And that's the entire year of 2021.
Okay.
And then there's some group Facebook messages
Right.
with other members of the family.
Okay.
Now, your nephew never wrote you a note that said, "Help me,"
No,
did he?
sir.
And he never drew a picture next to that note with a gun, did he?
No.
Okay. And that would be concerning to you?
Yes.
Okay.
It would
And is
cause-
that what you meant to say, or is that what you meant when you said, what would you have done if you saw something of a concerning nature?
I would have brought it up, yes.
Yes. That would be something significant to you as a mother?
To address, yes, of course.
I think it may have glossed over, I want to clarify. On the phone log, there's only 3 actual phone calls between you and your brother in 2021.
Okay.
Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, I
Okay.
guess.
Now, you were interviewed in November of 2023 by an investigator when your name was put on the defense witness list. Do you remember that interview?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you were asked if you knew you were on the witness list, and you said that you didn't know at that point.
Right.
Okay. And then you said you would have nothing to testify on their behalf because you had no knowledge of the incident until after it happened.
Correct. I have no knowledge of the incident.
Okay. And then you said you didn't know that a gun was bought for your nephew prior to the incident.
I did not know about that weapon, no.
And during that interview, you were asked about guns in the family home back when everybody lived in Florida. And you said, well, you know, some firearms is something that wouldn't be out of the ordinary for someone to own back in Florida when you grew up.
Right,
Do
no.
you recall that?
Yes, I do
Okay.
recall that.
But then you said, having guns in the house wouldn't be out of the ordinary, but getting one for your kid would be. At 21 minutes into the interview,
Getting one as in,
like giving a gun as a
no,
gift for
not
your
giving, but to use at a shooting range or whatnot.
well, I'm just
I would
reading
not say problem.
your words, and again, I'm not
Okay.
trying to trip you up.
Yeah, no,
You
okay.
said getting a gun for your kid, that would be out of the ordinary.
Yes.
Thank you.
Redirect?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. The prosecutor asked you about guns in the family home. And you were aware, or let me ask you, were you aware in April or June of 2021 if there were firearms in James Crumbley's family home?
Yes.
And what do you know about those firearms, if anything?
I know that there was a Derringer because I saw and held it myself when I was there in June.
And how did you go about seeing and holding it?
He took it out of his room. I had brought it
Let me
up.
stop you. Who's
Okay,
he?
sorry. My brother,
Okay.
James, took it out of his room to show, because it was, I guess it's maybe like an antique kind of ish gun. I'm not sure. I don't know really too much about them. But, and I wanted to see it and I hold it, and it was very heavy. And then afterwards, he put it back in its case and brought it back into his bedroom.
Okay. You said you're not very familiar with guns, right?
Correct.
The prosecutor asked you about a statement that you made about getting a gun for your kid would be, I don't remember the word he used, odd or something along those lines. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What did you mean by that? It sounded like you were trying to explain that to the prosecutor, and I don't know if we heard it.
I mean, if you're getting a gun specifically for your child to use at his leisure, that would be wrong. But with adult supervision, and I don't see any problem with it.
I have no further questions.
Just real quick, when you were there in June, here in Michigan in June, I think, right?
Yes.
Okay. And James went and showed you the .22 caliber Derringer, the small gun.
Yes?
Okay. You said he went and where he kept it in his room.
Yes, sir.
And the whole family was there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I have nothing else. Thank you, Judge.
All right, you can step down in your excuse. I'll watch the step right there.
Yes.
All right, who's the next witness?
No further witnesses. Your Honor.
You know?
Just to confirm, Judge.
Yes. Oh, yeah, that's the- Yes, yes,
I know you did.
yes.
No more about witnesses.
No rebuttal. Thank you.
Just for the record, Ms. Crumbley, who just testified, is in the courtroom. I believe that, is there any objection?
No, she can say she's excused.
Are there any additional witnesses?
Not from the people.
Come to the defense room.
All right, Jennifer?
Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to live this out.